how to block in a painting. I thought that would be a great way to start this week's project off and break this particular painting down into maybe 3 parts for you. So this first part I'll cover how to block it in, then I'll move to the sky and then the mountains and whatnot, and then finish the painting. So you guys want to see more of the process. I've been listening to you guys, I've been reading your posts and thinking about the questions I get, and a lot of you want me to just expand more on some of the details. So we're going to start by breaking this up, and we're going to start very simple, how to block in a painting from a reference photo. So let me back up just a quick second here, give you some background to this particular painting. This is from a trip I took to northern Alaska a few years ago to the Brooks Range, explored some of the country up there. It was absolutely beautiful. I really enjoyed it there. I took a lot of photos, and I've been sitting on these photos for quite some time. And as I was digging through them the other day, I thought, man, I got to really get back and actually do a painting from that portion of the trip. So that's what I'm going to do with this week's painting, and I think it's going to be a really good painting. I think it's off to a great start. So this is the completed, blocked in portion of the painting, and I'm going to show you how to start from scratch and get it to this point right now. Okay, so here we go. I've done a drawing, sketch with a number 2 pencil on top of the canvas here of the mountain range. I left the sky blank, didn't do a whole lot of stuff in the foreground. I just wanted to make sure that I had my peaks in the right spot, that especially this is going to be kind of the primary focus just right through here. So I just wanted to sketch out some of the details, the shadows and the highlights and things like that. And then you saw me spray it with a workable fixative, which is just going to seal that in so that my paint doesn't blend into the graphite and causing the paint to just kind of discolor as I apply it. So we've got our sealed sketch, and I'm going to just go right into the sky. Now I haven't done a lot of sketching in the sky because of course clouds can kind of be just however you want them to be. I want to follow the reference photo, but at the same time, I don't want to get caught up in minor details. So we're just going to kind of go with it and see what happens. Let's go over to the palette now. All right. So we've got a whole bunch of brushes over here, and I think I usually start with a larger flat brush, but I think I'm going to start, I may go to that, we'll see how it goes, but I might actually start with, that's probably a little over a 1/4 inch filbert brush. Probably the same thing. I have this is a mop brush. This is more like a 1/2 inch. And I have one of my round blender brushes, scrumbler brush from Artist Loft. I'll probably start, I might experiment a little bit to start with. I'm going to grab I'm gonna grab my filbert brush here, and I've got some paint colors here on the palette already laid out. I've got titanium white, naphthol crimson, phthalo blue, raw umber, and cad yellow light. And it's kind of the umber is a golden fluid acrylic. These are Liquitex soft bodies. And I'm going to grab some white paint. And I've got a little bit of water on the brush, so I'm going to mix that in. I'm going to start with the blue in the sky. So I grab just a tiny bit. Of that phthalo blue. I'm just going to test it out over here. That is pretty close. I think I'm going to take a small amount of umber. I'm going to grab some more blue. And mix those together, and then so I'm just adding a little bit more to my mixture here. Okay, that's going to be pretty close to what I want, so I'm going to stick with that. And I just want to establish where those blues are going to be in the sky. I might actually go with some red. Just a little bit of red added to that. It's not going to make a huge difference. That's going to neutralize the color out just a little bit. So first things first, just kind of looking where those blues are going to be. And I think in the beginning of this painting, it's all right to go a little bit overboard with the blues and make those areas of blue slightly larger than what it might be in the finished result. A little bit more blue to that, because we can always kind of overlap them over the top back with some of the highlights in the clouds. We just want to make sure that our blues are covered. Again, it doesn't have to match perfectly. I just want to get the overall feel of it established. Just a couple more areas. I make this one slightly larger. Okay. Pretty good. I think I'm just going to stick with that. Wash the brush. Okay. Now, for the clouds, I'm going to start with the shadows of the clouds, because the highlights are close to white, and number one, I always think it's easier to paint the highlights over the top of the shadows. But also, if we paint the shadows first, the canvas is already white, and that's fairly close to what we're going to have. So Highlights are kind of already on there. Don't worry about that yet. I'm going to paint the shadows. So I'm going to take some umber and some blue. And some red. Create kind of a warm gray here. Then I'm just going to add some white to it. Okay. I think I might add some more white. Just kind of testing that out. That's fairly close. Add a little more white to it. Might take some more blue. Kind of spread that around. I don't want a lot going in here. I'm going to go ahead and just add some more white to that even. It's a little bit of a process just to get it to feel right. I think I can just go ahead and add all that white. Okay, that feels pretty good. Now, I'm basically going to try to envision where those highlights are going to be and paint around that. If you go overboard, it's all right, because of course those highlights will paint right over the top fairly easily. Got quite a bit of highlights down in this area that are pretty intricate, so I'm just going to go ahead and just paint over the top with the shadow and not try to paint around all of that. I'm going to pick up a small amount of blue and just add that. Fairly easy so far, huh? Now, if you're wondering about the canvas itself, I have applied 3 layers of gesso to this store-bought canvas. So it comes with gesso on top already. I added 3 additional layers. And if you follow my content, you know I produced a video about that, how I do that. I'll have a card that pops up right now. Just so in case you missed it, you can watch that, learn how I do it. So this is a pretty self-explanatory step. I'm trying to simplify my process down a little bit more. So lately I've just been experimenting with just some slight different ways of how to compose things in the early stages of a painting. So just blocking in these colors. Should have enough paint to go across. Some of those clouds up in the left portion of this is pretty light shadows. So I'm not particularly sure how I'm doing this right now. I'm just kind of getting some texture on there just to get things started. Taking a step towards that direction of any step you take towards getting closer to achieving the result you want is a good step to take. So even though I'm a little bit confused right now of how each individual shadow is going to play out up here, I'm not dwelling over it. I'm just going to continue to just keep rolling with it, and it'll work itself out. Okay, I'm actually really happy with this right now. Very easy to envision what I'm going for. All right, so we've got that. We've got the shadows and the highlight. Hopefully that's starting to make sense a little bit. I think it will as I keep moving forward here. All right, so the next step, and I'm just looking at the sky here in my reference photo. As the clouds move further down, they start to get a little bit more reddish. And that's because there's going to be more atmosphere and things like that as we get further back into the sky. So we want those tones to start to get more red, orangish, that sort of thing. So I'm going to try to mix the same color I just did for the shadows. And I've got some started right here. So I'm just going to mix that in. Grab some more blue. And umber, and then we're going to pick up some red. So I'm a little more red heavy this time around. Okay, it's a pretty close match. Color we had before, look at that. Pretty close, might be just a tad darker. So what I want to do now is just add, I might pick up some yellow. Small amount though. I'm going to want some more white in that. I want it to be, you can see it's drying a little bit darker. So I want that to be just slightly lighter. I'm picking up some red, just a touch of yellow, just a little bit. add that in. Make sure everything's mixed together well. I'm just going to compare that to what I've got. Still think it's too dark. Add quite a bit of white to that. What I might actually do, this would be a cool color, is quinacridone, and actually instead of using quinacridone red, I'm going to go with the Quinacridone Magenta. And it's just because I want to teach myself a little bit more about the properties of magenta. So lately I've been on a magenta kick over quinacridone red, just simply because I want to understand it better. So I'm just adding some of that. That's a good point too, that you can search online, YouTube, wherever. You can probably find people talking about different colors where you could gain that information through that. But I found the best way to learn about anything is to just be a practitioner, to try it yourself. You're just really not going to gain as much any other way. So I do the same thing still in my work. Try, test, learn. That's how you really make leaps and bounds in your artwork. So I get a lot of questions about colors and things like that, types of brushes I use. Honestly, the best advice I have is to just try different things, buy different supplies, and give them a go. That's the best way you're going to learn. Okay, so this has got more of a pink tone to it. I'm sticking pretty low in the sky. Again, we've got some highlights through here, but I think it's just going to be easier for me if they're not major, really large, to just don't worry about them and I can paint over the top. Left a little bit right there. And a couple more spots. Okay. It's looking good. I'm not adding a lot of water in here right now. I want it to cover well. Okay, a little more prominent highlights through here, so I kind of try to do what we did up top. Just adding some pink to the bottom, adding some of this color to the bottom of some of those clouds up top just to get more of a blend going. All right. Little pink to the bottom. Looking good. Go ahead and just cover the top of those mountains right along the edge. All right. I'm just going to take the same color, just kind of go over a couple spots that didn't cover as well. It's just a good opportunity, and this is why I like to use acrylics again in the beginning of my paintings. It's another question I get a lot. Why do I use acrylics? Why do I use oils over the top? Acrylics dry very fast, allows me to add 2 layers very quickly, just like I am now. So I can move quickly in the beginning, and oils help me blend some of the areas out, achieve a more luminous and vibrant look to my paintings. They both have advantages, and I just like to take those advantages into account in my painting and just use both of those advantages. Okay. So it's a pretty good start. I think that'll work. Actually, I think I need more. Kind of forgot an area right here. Go right down with those mountains, back up. Just leave a little bit of white just so I kind of know where that separation is between those layers of clouds. Perfect. Super happy with this so far. So if you look at the sky as a whole now, you can start to see how things are taking shape, and it's starting to make more sense, at least to me anyways. Okay. I kind of bridge the gap right through here a little bit. All right, perfect. Okay, so now that we've got this sky sort of established, I want to leave it right now and just go ahead and move on to the mountains and just fill in the rest of this canvas so that I have a good idea of my lights and darks so I can kind of compare back and forth and the colors as well. So let's move, just start with the furthest mountains back and just kind of move our way down. So I'm going to start with these distant mountains back here, and it's going to be sort of a light colored blue, a little bit of a faded blue. So I'm going to grab some more white, and I'll just start up here. I'm just going to go ahead and add some blue into the mixture just to get myself started. So this blue is going to be a bit more faded. So what I'm doing is just adding some red, some umber, and some blue. That'll just tone it down. Okay, let me test this. That might be pretty close. I think I can probably add, I'm going to add some magenta to this mixture. A little bit of umber. little more umber. Okay, mix that up. Okay, so I think that might be all right. I might add some more blue. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and stick with that for right now. Let me, yeah, I think that's going to be pretty close. Just going to go ahead and block in this mountain back here with a solid color. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I think I'll probably just stick with the same color all the way across. Just kind of going in between these mountains. All right, and just finish with this one. It's a pretty powerful color. It's going to cover very well. Okay. Now, this next mountain right through here is going to be a little bit darker. And I think what I'm going to do is add some magenta, some umber, along with some blue. Just mix it right into the color here. Grab some more of all three of those colors. A little bit more on the blue side. A little bit more blue. Okay, I'm just going to kind of test that right underneath. Okay, you can see that's quite a bit darker. Yeah, I think that's going to do. I'm just watching it dry. Should be pretty close. Probably just pick up some of that blue, add a little bit more blue into that. That's going to be about right. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and block this in the same way that I did. Now there are some highlights. There'll be some highlights right through here, a little bit right there. And I've just decided I'm going to paint over the top. It's just a lot easier to not paint around some of those tiny details. Just get it blocked in. It's going to save you a little bit of time. All right. It's looking pretty good. Okay. I think I'm just going to... No, I'm going to go ahead and just... I'm going to leave everything just like this. Well, maybe I can get away with... So I'm going to mix these two colors together, the dark and the light, kind of get a little bit of an in-between. And my peak has got a shadow right here. So as this goes on, it's about the same color, but as we know, if you work with acrylics often, it's going to dry a little bit darker. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a shadow there. Probably a little bit of one right through the top of this mountain as well. Just I've got the color, so might as well use it. Okay, so just a couple shadows. Pretty good for right now. I'm just going to leave that. And I'm going to wash my brush. Dry it off. Give it kind of a second wash. Okay. All right. Now, let's move on to those mountains that are a little bit closer, and I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead and start with these dark shadows sort of in the bowl, these old glacial bowls, and then we'll kind of move our way from darks to lights. So I'll start with these darker colors, and we could probably just go ahead and use this color here where I left off. I'm going to add some magenta and some blue to that, some more umber. Okay, and I'm just going to, I think I can just add more magenta and blue. Sort of a deep reddish blue tone that I'm looking for. A little bit of umber. Okay, let's give that a try. Let's see here. Probably about right through there. Ooh, that's nice and dark. I'm going to compare that to what I've got back up here. Okay, I think I'm just letting that dry. I think I can go even darker. Okay, so that's just slightly darker. I think that's going to be a little bit closer. All right, so I'm going to start with that. I'm just going to look for those areas. And again, just like the sky, I'll probably just kind of overdo it. With the darks. Ooh, that's going to be rich. Okay, I'll probably just go right up to the top. I'm just kind of going back and forth. Not looking at the reference, kind of go back, figure out. I don't want to go too much overboard. I do want to make sure I get those shadows covered where they need to be. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I think I could probably get away with a couple spots right through here as well. It's about the same color. Little bowl, mini bowl right there. Probably start with this one as well. Color is strong, goes a long ways. Okay. I think just about got it. Anywhere where I can find that color, I'm just kind of... Okay. That is pretty good. I'm going to wash my... Well, actually, I don't need to wash the brush. What I want to do is add some white to this. Not sure how light I'm going to need to go. It's going to need to be darker than that. Add some blue and some umber. Touch of magenta. And right in between, let that dry for a second. I think I can go more red. I'm actually going to take some red itself. Some naphthol. Let that dry. Probably go darker, more umber and red. Give that a test. Okay, I think that's going to be perfect. I like that. So, apologize, I realized my close-up camera, I don't believe was on, but looks to be on now. It's all right, you didn't miss a whole lot. Now is when we start to get a little bit more detailed. So I'm kind of going in between those dark shadows. And I'm looking to just, now again, I'm going to try to paint around some of those highlights. Do my best here. I'm just going to try to fill in. This is sort of an in-between color. A lot more gray in this tone. A little bit of water, just keep that flowing. Okay, we're gonna have, let's see here. Go right over the top. We're gonna have some lighter highlights through there, but I won't worry about them yet. Okay. So this is looking pretty good so far. I think I can actually use this color to fill in this mountain in the back. Just the other half that's just kind of going the other way. I wanted there to be a little bit of separation there, so kind of do that by using this color. So there's a lot of variations of color in this mountain. This is just, these colors are just the closer ones that we're looking for. So just try to get it close. It's kind of the point of blocking it in. It just gives you a head start, gives you a head, sort of a, gives you, puts you in a step ahead without worrying about small details like variations in color, things like that. These faces back in there, virtually straight up and down. Just a wonderful place to experience. Couldn't begin to tell you where exactly this was. Right along the Dalton Highway, though. About 50, 60 miles, 60, 70 miles from the Arctic Ocean. Very close to the world's northernmost tree, in fact. Not many trees in these mountains, which is why they're just so cool. Okay, so we're getting in that transition zone a bit. All right, I have some rocky areas through here. Just gonna get them on. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I like it. I think I'm going to move on. We're just about there. Okay, I'm going to take just a little breather, and then we'll just kind of move on to this next range of colors and work our way down. Okay, I'm back. So, what do we need to do next? Well, we've got some lighter tones, like I said, in some of the areas I left out, and that's fairly gray. And then if we go to our reference photo and we start looking at, as we get further down into the vegetation, a lot of this will be rock. When we get down into the vegetation, basically, we've got a flat gray, and then for the highlights of the vegetation, we add a little bit of yellow, which is going to give a greenish hue, a green look to it. And then if we add a little bit of red to that gray, it's going to give sort of an orangish look. So we have flat gray, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red, and that should bring us through all the highlights that we need. In fact, before I get to those highlights itself, let's do some of the shadows of the vegetation. So right through here, and right through here, and then we'll fill in the rest. I suppose, though, what I could do is just start with my neutral gray, because that kind of exists a little bit higher up. So to get that, some more umber. Let's get some umber, some magenta, a little bit of blue, a little more umber, tad more blue. Okay, it looks fairly neutral. Add some white. And just test this out quick. I think I can add a little bit more magenta to that. Okay, I think that'll work. So I'm going to start with that. Again, we're not worried about all the details. Just worried about getting the most prominent color in a particular area and cover the canvas with it. So just looking for those grays. So if you know you've got some extra details that you need to work on, don't worry about it. Just what's kind of the most dominant color, just cover it with that. So in this case, it's just kind of this neutral gray, maybe a slightly on the warm side. Okay. A little bit right through here. And we'll also cover up this area. Okay, and I'm just going to drag some of these colors down a bit. And we're going to have a little bit more right there. So the goal here is to get most of the canvas covered. You don't have to get it all. Gonna have to paint over the top at the end of the day, so if it doesn't cover completely, that's not the end of the world. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Grab a little bit more of that color right up through here. I add that all through here. Okay, I think I'm just about there. Take some of this darker tone, add some blue to that. A little bit more blue. Okay. That feels pretty good. Now, what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and just continue with this gray color down here. We want to move to those darker shadows in the foliage. So I'm adding blue and then I'm adding umber. And I want that to be right through here. Okay, Just gonna let that dry just for a second. I think I want it to be even darker. I'm gonna take a lot more umber, a lot more blue. Sort of mix that together. I'm gonna try out. Okay, so that's quite a bit darker. Just gonna let that dry for a second. I think I can go even darker. More umber. So that's pretty dark. I'll go ahead and apply it again. Just kind of let that dry. Okay, I think that's going to be good. So I'm going to let that. I'm just going to go right over the top. Okay, so this is pretty dark and rich. But we're going to have even darker tones. Add a little bit the lighter gray to back to this. Okay, so let's just go ahead and block in a couple of these spots. So I'm just looking where this color might exist. I'm just doing my best. Just kind of blocking in those areas. Really casually. Got my close-up camera blinking at me. It's getting low on battery. I'll just keep watching it. Okay. So that camera just died. I'm just gonna quickly finish up. I think you got the idea of what I'm doing here. I'm just gonna add in those areas. Okay, when we get down below here, it's going to kind of fade in to the darks with this color. So I'm just going to add it to the top. Almost there. Just a couple spots through here. And finish it off. Down here. Okay. Couple lines through here. Couple more right through here. Couple up in here. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to reset my camera and then we'll move on to the highlights in the foliage area. Okay, so on to the highlights we go. Let's go over to the palette. And let's see, we've got some white here. Make sure we get enough. And I'm going to get some more umber. I'm going to go ahead and mix that right in. Add a bit of blue and magenta. And remember, we wanted to add some yellow. Finally get to use that yellow. Just a pinch. That might actually even be too much. We'll see. Just going to test that out. Just let it dry for a second. I think it's too light. I want to go a little bit darker than that. More umber and blue. A little bit of that magenta. Test that out. Okay. I'm going to take some more yellow. Probably just going to go ahead and get more umber. And a pinch more yellow. That's more the tone I was looking for. Test that underneath. Just kind of let that dry. That's getting there. Probably just even grab more yellow. Umber and yellow. Test that again. It's a little bit darker. We're getting there. I might even take some naphthol. Naphthol. Add some yellow. So I'm just kind of adding some orange to it. That's looking to be a bit closer. I'm gonna take that color and just kind of add it right here. Okay, I think that's about right. I'm just going to go ahead and add that. Just kind of fill in those white areas. I actually think I need more of a shadow right through here. So we got our little creek going right through here. Just sort of leaving that white, just so I know what's there. Grab some more, and I'm going to need it right through here. Grab what's left. I'll block in this white area over here. Okay, that is looking pretty good. Now I've got this color. I'll go ahead and just kind of take it. I'm going to have some of this color right here in the foreground, so I've got it mixed. Just go ahead and apply some of that. Get the rest. Good enough. Okay, now let's work on this area right between, and then we're going to be getting close. Okay. So that area in between is going to be pretty dark. Let's start with some umber down here. I'm just going to take some blue, mix that right in. It's going to be more on the blue side of things. Make sure I add a lot of blue to that. I like that magenta. I'm going to continue with a little bit of that. You don't need much. It's very powerful. I want there to be more blue. Just a touch of white. You just need a pinch right on the tip of the brush there. Little white goes a long ways. Just going to test this. Ooh, that's dark. More blue and magenta. Start to offset that umber. More magenta. I'm going to take all of that magenta. Test it out again. Let it dry. You know what? I'm going to go with some naphthol. Yeah, I think that did it for me. Okay, a little bit of water. So, I'm just going to go ahead and get this on. And I actually think adding some more water, just making this slightly more transparent, is going to help, because we don't need this to be that dark. See how that, if I kind of push hard, see how that just comes right up? You can see that white underneath. I kind of like that. So we are going to have some subtle tones in this dark area, so don't sweat it if it feels like it's not covering as well. These dark colors are hard to cover anyways. Okay. So it looks like my close-up camera again ran out of storage space, I guess, this time, but that's okay. We're just gonna go ahead and get the rest of this blocked in. I kind of like using this little brush, just kind of adding some texture to it. Just about there. See if we've got enough paint. And just grab some more. That's the quick version. Couple lines going this way. And take some water, add some water. Just go ahead and cover this right here as well. Some random spots, there's going to be kind of some rocks down below here. All right. We are at least covered up. It's looking pretty good. We will want to have this area darker down here. I'm taking some water and just lifting up some of that paint. And then what we could do to go ahead and just darken that down before we're finished blocking this in. Just get some more blue, some more umber, some more magenta. Mix all three together. It's going to be pretty dark. Just add some of that dark tone. Some of these areas down here, because they are going to be dark, but it can be random. These rocks can sit however you'd like them to. I'll just add some texture. Okay, so I'm pretty happy. I'm going to take a step back here. So we're pretty close. There's a few areas that could be adjusted. Not sure I really need to do that right now. If I add some gray to this mixture I just did, that's going to be about right. I could start to build some of these areas of shadows a little more accurately. But that's pretty much it when it comes to blocking in. Hope you guys enjoyed this part of it. In the next video, we're going to get to work on the sky, and I'll do how to paint clouds and how to finish the sky. And then we'll move into the mountains themselves. So probably do a three-part series for this painting. I keep getting questions about sharing more of the process. So I think this would just be a great way. So I'll go ahead and call that just about finished as far as blocking in. I'm starting to get ahead of myself with some of these details. But that's pretty close. Kind of just going over some of these dark areas, making them a little bit darker. All right. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and call that a finished, blocked in painting. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this portion. I'll have part 2. I'm gonna continue working on this today, and I'll get part 2 up as quickly as possible. We'll get into the sky, hopefully, then maybe touch into the mountains, and we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure exactly how I'll break this up, but anyways, part 2 will be coming soon, so stay tuned for that. And as always, if you guys would like to support my channel, if you haven't already, please check out my free print giveaway, as well as my eBay auctions. I auction off all the paintings I do here in the videos through my eBay, as well as my website, and all of those links in the description below. Thanks guys so much. We'll see you next time.